Hello, everybody. I have an announcement. The podcast is moving to Spotify. I signed a multi-year licensing agreement with Spotify that will start on September 1st.
This announcement from Joe Rogan was quite huge, as we're now seeing one of the biggest podcasters in the world transitioning away from YouTube, where he has been for over the last decade. If you go onto his main channel right now, you won't be able to find the first 300 podcasts, at least in this point in time when I'm making this video. These episodes are now available on Spotify only, which is of course part of the deal. As soon as this was announced to the market, the stock price shifted up over 17.5%, increasing the value of the company by over $5 billion. Just imagine that for a second. A content creator, a podcaster shifted the company's position by over $5 billion in just 48 hours. From 30 billion to 35. The value since hasn't gone down, and currently it's sitting at about 45 billion. This alone shows the value that content creators hold at this point in time, and it's only just going to keep on increasing. What we know so far in this deal is that Joe Rogan was paid around 100 million to form this exclusive licensing agreement with Spotify. From some reports, it may seem that Joe was actually underpaid from this agreement. Now look, don't get me wrong, 100 million is a ridiculous amount, but is it a fair amount though? His podcasts reportedly have 190 million downloads per month, and with someone that generates that much traffic, we need to make sense of the numbers first. But we'll get into this later on. So the four main topics that we'll discuss today will be: number 1, how does Spotify actually make money as a company? Number 2, how do the artists get rewarded for their effort? Number 3, the Joe Rogan deal. And number 4, the future of Spotify and audio content in general. Now, it's no surprise how Spotify actually makes their money. It's quite simple and done through two ways. The first one is a Spotify premium membership that you probably have and pay for monthly. And the second is the free version of Spotify where people have to put up with ads. People like me. Spotify likes to call this ad-supported revenue. Sure. Currently in the quarter ending June this year, the bulk of the revenue came from premium subscriptions, which was about 1.75 billion euros. Then, a much tinier amount came from ad-supported revenue because cheapos like me refused to pay for premium. This revenue was about 131 million euros. Even though the majority of the revenue comes from premium subscribers, there's actually more people using the free version of Spotify than their paid counterparts. There were 170 million free users watching ads and about 138 million premium subscribers. Now, since Spotify is available in 92 countries worldwide, which is almost half of the countries in the world, it's pretty understandable that not everyone can afford such a subscription, and they would rather just listen with ads instead. Many of these countries are developing nations with low incomes, so this makes sense. Over the last few years and months though, Spotify has been trying super hard to have multiple premium plans to suit each person. For example, you've got individual and family plans, which are pretty common, but then you've got a student plan which is heavily discounted at $5 per month, which is peanuts when you compare it to the value that you're getting. College is expensive as it is, so this is definitely a good addition. Along with this, Spotify launched the new Duo plan this year as well, which is more suitable to couples or roommates. These types of subscription models allow Spotify to capture as much of the market as possible and give everyone a chance to listen to some fresh music. Now, Spotify uses the freemium business model, which is widely used nowadays. Give the users a high quality free app with millions of songs at their fingertips, then run ads advertising the living crap out of Spotify Premium and how good it is, and also giving people a free trial of Premium. Eventually, you get tired of hearing the ads and decide to take out a subscription. Based on this, Spotify is very good at acquiring customers, but how does it actually retain the users? Well, the app is constantly adding new artists and songs, and recently, the business strategy of Spotify has now been shifting towards more forms of audio content like podcasts. Spotify paid a few $100 million just to buy Anchor and Gimlet, which are both focused towards podcasting. But perhaps one of the main reasons that users keep coming back to the app for more is the option of creating pretty much as many playlists as you want to suit your needs. Want to just chill out? Start listening to your chill playlist. But if you don't have one but still want to listen to some music, then literally select chill from the playlist. These guys even have a playlist for League of Legends. Combine this with no ads and it's a pretty lucrative offering. Now, I doubt any of you guys actually use this, but there's also a friends feature of the app where you can see what your friends are listening to, and this might just be Spotify's way of slowly transitioning into a social media app rather than just a music app. But I don't want to say too much here. At the core of this app is the ability for artists to put their songs out there. But how do singers, podcasters, and other creators actually make money from this? Well, there's a bit of controversy around this, but artists generally make money from the number of streams they get for their songs. Now, how much they actually get per stream is very little. It's shocking almost, but the number is somewhere between 0.43 cents to 0.6 cents per stream. This means that for every 1 million streams, an artist will make somewhere between 4K and 6K. Again, these are only estimates, and some artists even get less than this. Now, if you're a pop star, not a doctor like Drake or Ariana Grande who can easily pull in millions of streams per month, this is not too bad. But if you're just starting out and are completely new to the industry, you're pretty much allowing Spotify to list your songs for free. Your only hope at this stage is to let Spotify's algorithms reach new audiences. It's also important to note that when talking about income for artists, whatever income they get has to be split between composers, songwriters, and other people, so the actual income will be far less. So as an example, if there are 100 million streams of music altogether for the month of October, and 20 million of those streams were Drake's music, well then Drake will be pocketing 20% of the revenue. This prorated system of revenue sharing is used by many other platforms, so Spotify isn't the only one that does this, to be fair. Now this can put pressure on smaller artists to put out low quality short songs just to get their overall streaming numbers up. Some musicians have even seen physical sales of their music dropping where Spotify is active, because as a consumer, why would you pay $10 for an album when you can pay $10 per month and listen to the same song and millions more? So as a result, they've actually started to pull their music from Spotify just to survive. If you go on Spotify's website for artists, you'll find a few videos that don't do too good of a job at explaining how the model works. Instead, you'll find super cringy stuff like this.
Is it weird that we're crossing legs the same direction, like twinsies? I'll do this. There we go.
This is my stream share dance. Share the streams.
Okay.
Yep.
Looks like you guys are tight.
Yeah, it's my oldest friend.
All jokes aside, guys, this video does a half decent job of explaining how it actually works.
Okay, so how does the payment work?
When an artist gets paid from a premium play, they're getting paid out of the total bucket of money that we've collected from all of our premium users. When they get paid for a free play, they're getting paid from the bucket of money that comes from all of our advertising. I feel like that makes sense, right?
Totally.
Yeah, sure, that made sense, but let's go a bit deeper into this for a second. There were 170 million free users of Spotify that were ad-supported, and only 138 million that were premium users by June quarter this year. We know that premium users bring in most of the revenue, and free users bring in barely any. This means that potentially over half the streams of music barely brought in revenue for artists, since this is only ad-supported revenue, which is much lower than premium. I really hope that made sense. So the current system is a pro rata system, but what alternatives are there? Well, the other system is a user-centric model. Basically, if you only listen to 2 artists, then your monthly premium subscription or ad payment will only go towards those 2 artists. This seems very fair to begin with, however some reports show that it'll get super expensive to manage in the long term, and honestly, there seems to be no sign in the near future that this will get implemented. Now guys, look, I don't want to go on a long spree about how bad Spotify is for artists and how everything sucks and it's broken. The fact is, Spotify consistently gives out 70% of their revenue to artists and keeps the rest for their own business purposes. Along with this, they provide huge datasets to record labels and artists for them to fine-tune their strategy. Spotify collects data like the date and time the music is listened to the most, what the listening habits of people are, which medium they listen to the song in, and what parts of the songs are listened to the most. As a new creator, these are invaluable when starting out. On top of this, the algorithm can also add artist songs into new playlists to boost discoverability for new artists. Alright, now let's talk about the Joe Rogan deal, which is probably the only reason you clicked on this video. Now, as mentioned earlier, podcasts are growing ridiculously quick, with an estimate of 32% of Americans listening monthly in 2019. So this number is staggering, and nearly 1/3 of the country, so it makes sense to have Joe come on the platform exclusively. It's important to note that Spotify doesn't actually own Joe's content, it's only a multi-year licensing deal. At this point in time, we don't really know how long this deal will actually last for, we just know that it will be for a few years. Now, having JRE on Spotify does a few things to expand its strategy. Firstly, we know that Joe has spent decades building up a huge following, from comedy to commentating, TV presenting, and now podcasting. His fans have followed him through different stages of his career, and the way I look at it, his huge fan base is sure to follow him on Spotify as well. So this will bring a diverse range of audiences to the platform, and Spotify can then use the data, demographics, analytics, and all that stuff to fine-tune their strategy even more. Secondly, more viewership means that more chances that a lot of these people will convert from free users of the app to paid premium subscribers. This is the hope of Spotify to keep on growing, because if you didn't know, Spotify isn't actually profitable at the moment. Sure, they've got heaps of cash to fund their acquisitions and bring on exclusive podcasters, but no profit has been made just yet. This will of course build more brand awareness around Spotify on a global scale as well, since Joe Rogan's podcasts are in the top 10 in Canada, Australia, and a few other countries as well, and continue to grow in numbers. Now, just by looking at it, $100 million just to host your podcast exclusively does sound very impressive and makes for a pretty impressive news headline. A normal musical artist would need to get 23 billion streams of their music just to make that much. But looking at things more deeply and economically, is this a fair deal? Well, to figure this out, first we need to find out how many years this deal is going to last for. So let's look at the numbers. Before the Spotify deal, it was estimated that Joe Rogan was making around $30 million a year. This number isn't actually including any YouTube ad revenue, which could be well over a few $1,000,000 a year as well. So let's put it at $3 million per year. Now, of course, Joe and his team would not enter into this binding agreement if it wasn't going to benefit them when considering the opportunity cost. So when the deal is for $100 million, it doesn't make logical or financial sense for the deal to exceed beyond 3 years, because anything past that point and the opportunity cost is way too much. So when Rogan said it's a multi-year deal, I really don't think it will extend past the 4 or 5 year mark, otherwise that's just a very long time and a lot can change in 5 years, especially with content. It's more reasonable to assume that the deal will be around 2 to 3 years. As I told you guys earlier, Joe's content is slowly being removed from YouTube and that's starting to cut down his revenue as well. So if the deal lasts for more than 2 to 3 years, then he will definitely be underpaid based on what we know. Otherwise, it might actually be a fair deal. But hang on a second, you might be saying that Spotify paid $100 million and saw their stock price jump up $5 billion in 2 days. So how the hell is Joe Rogan not underpaid? Well, you see, the thing is, price is what you pay, value is what you get. The price of exclusively having Joe Rogan is $100 million, but the value it adds to the company is $5 billion. This is because investors value the $100 million investment much more than the $100 million itself, and are willing to bet that Rogan's exclusivity to the platform will be giving huge long-term returns. Now, ever since Rogan's episodes were listed on Spotify, there's been a bit of controversy surrounding this, since a few episodes were removed. Episodes from people like Alex Jones and a lot of other far-right people were nowhere to be found. There haven't been many comments on this from Spotify or Rogan. Some articles showed that there were issues migrating files over to Spotify from YouTube, and Alex Jones mentioned that his episodes would in fact be on Spotify eventually.
Is Spotify censoring the Joe Rogan podcast? And I didn't know until I talked to him this morning, and he explained it. They've got 1,500 plus files and then some migrating over, and they've had a few problems here and there with corrupted files, with the naming of them. And so that's why the Alex Jones interview is not there. That's why some of the other interviews aren't there, because those are going to be the exclusive interviews that are left on YouTube, where in Joe's words, they'll probably get even more views than if they were on Spotify. So that's what's happening.
I really hope so. Because at the start of all this is what we were promised.
It will be the exact same show. I am not going to be an employee of Spotify. We're going to be working with the same crew, doing the exact same show. The only difference will be it will now be available.
There have been some growing concerns from Spotify employees recently, as they're now threatening to strike or even leave the company if Rogan doesn't get censored. Some controversial episodes relating to the topic of transgenderism, among other things, have especially offended these guys. They're even going as far as demanding direct editorial oversight on his work and adding in trigger warnings, content flags, and even refusing to publish an episode at all. Now, looking at the executives of Spotify, I doubt they'll actually let this happen to this extent. However, it does leave me thinking what a tough journey this will be moving forward. Fans love Joe Rogan for his candid and honest dialogue and actual real conversations with no BS. If Rogan is to continue having the same quality conversations, we will indeed see more clashes between Spotify employees and the show in the next few years. The fact of the matter is, if these employees actually happen to quit because of this, there's going to be hundreds more that will be taking up the position in no time. But we only have one Joe Rogan and this guy is worth billions to Spotify. Therefore, in this scenario, it could be the case that Rogan just keeps on doing what he does. Fingers crossed. At the time of making this video with his most recent podcast with Tim Dillon, Joe Rogan said this.
Right, but listen, me on the outside reading these fucking articles.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Spotify's censoring Rogan. Spotify's doing this.
It's not happening.
Spotify has said nothing.
Yeah,
Listen to me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything to my manager.
Right.
They haven't said anything to me. They've said nothing.
Right.
This seems to be the case now. However, a few years down the track into this deal, I really hope that he can stand by the same statement. We need to have more open dialogue between people and try to understand their viewpoint rather than just labeling them and silencing them. Just my 2 cents. Now, looking ahead, what does the future of Spotify look like? Well, if you haven't noticed already, Spotify has added a video feature on its desktop and mobile apps. So you could say that this is part of its strategy to be a little bit different from its competitors. Now, this begs the question, could we have more platforms in the future that would follow in this direction? Well, they definitely could. This isn't something new, and we've definitely seen evidence from past apps like Instagram launching stories to compete with Snapchat, or Instagram copying TikTok with Instagram Reels. But the thing is, not everyone consumes podcasts just to watch videos as well. Some people just want some nice background noise. So we'll have to see how this turns out. One thing that's a bummer about this whole video section on Spotify is the actual comments. They're literally non-existent. Reading these comments is one of the best things about YouTube, and to not have some sort of feedback system on Spotify is definitely an issue. Along with this, there's no like or dislike button or even a rating system just yet. So for casual fans of the podcast, we really won't know if a podcast is good or bad. Now, since Spotify has added a video feature already, they might as well look at adding in comments and a rating system as well. Looking at the trends so far, podcasting is sure to grow, there's no doubts about this. Especially when you have people like Michelle Obama, who've recently also started podcasting now, exclusive to Spotify. Only recently her podcast was available on other platforms as well. When you have huge and influential people like this that can tap into this medium, it's sure to grow. In 2018, there were about 550k podcasts, but in 2020, there's now over 1 million, which is almost double. You can literally listen to podcasts in the car, using your smartwatch, game consoles, TV, and pretty much anything that has internet, which adds to this. In the future, it wouldn't be surprising if more exclusive deals like the Joe Rogan one happen again, as more podcasters build up their audiences. Existing platforms like YouTube need to pay close attention now more than ever, as they've just lost Joe Rogan with potentially many more to come. Now, this is not to say that YouTube will be taken over anytime soon, however they will lose some revenue, that's all. Guys, if you enjoyed this in-depth look at Spotify, please consider liking, commenting or subscribing, it really helps. Thanks a lot.